Hi everyone, thank you for joining me again for another directed drawing video. Today I'm going to be taking you through a drawing that is going to show you how to draw flowers in a flower pot. And the supplies that you're going to need for this lesson are a pencil, an eraser, and you can choose to have the optional permanent marker, and this will come in handy if you want to join me for the second part of the video where we're going to add some paint using either watercolor paint or water-based markers. So if you do want to join me and you have the paint supplies at home for that, you might want to have a permanent marker to trace your lines, and I'll show you that a little bit later in the lesson. If you are painting, I suggest that you use a heavier textured paper. So that would either be watercolor paper or construction paper. If you are just joining me for the drawing portion and then you're going to add color using markers, crayon, color pencil, then you are fine to just use regular printer paper or lined paper or whatever else that you can find around the house. So just a little bit about directed drawing and why it's so awesome. Even though I'm taking you step by step in this drawing and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do for each part, every single person's drawing is going to turn out different because you're going to take that instruction I give you and you're going to interpret it in a different way than everyone else. So even though this might seem like everybody's doing the same thing, when you're all finished and you compare it to someone else's work, it's going to inevitably be different. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for our drawing today, I am working on watercolor paper. As I said before, you can work on regular printer paper, you can work on construction paper, but only watercolor and construction paper are suitable for painting on. If you are using regular paper, I suggest adding color using crayons, color pencils, or markers. So to get started, we're gonna use our paper vertically. So that means it's gonna be nice and tall because we want a lot of space at the top for our flowers. Now, we're gonna take our pencil and we're gonna place it in the middle of the paper to kind of divide the paper in half. You're just gonna kind of look and see that there's an even amount of space at the top and the bottom. Then you're gonna move your pencil down just a little bit because we don't wanna be directly in the middle of the paper. We wanna be slightly below. Then you're gonna draw a very long horizontal line across the bottom of this paper. You do not want this line to be too short, but you also don't want it to touch the edges. You wanna leave some space on either side of the line. And then at the bottom of this paper, you're gonna take your finger, and you're gonna go from the line towards the bottom. You're not gonna go all the way to the bottom. You wanna leave a little bit of space, and you're gonna draw a shorter horizontal line. So this horizontal line now is shorter than the one above it, and we're gonna connect those two lines using diagonal lines. So on the left side, I'm gonna go ahead and connect these two. On the right side, I'm gonna connect these two lines, and now we have the base of our flower pot. The top portion of our flower pot is going to simply be a rectangle. So you're going to extend the line that you drew already at the top, and you're going to go out just a little bit on the left and the right, and then you're going to go up about an inch, not too high, and then you're going to connect straight across to create a nice long rectangle. And there your flower pot is complete. So now we're gonna add the flowers, and this is where you get to have a little bit of fun. So what we're gonna start with are a bunch of circles. I suggest to do 4 or 5 circles. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw 5, and I want you to draw them in varying sizes. So that means some of them are big, some of them are medium, and some of them are small. So I'm gonna start towards the bottom and work my way up. I'm gonna draw a circle right about here. Now your circle placement might look different than mine, and that is completely okay. As long as you have at least 3 or 4 circles in the top section of your design, you are perfectly good to go. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another circle inside that circle. So I'm gonna do this the same as before, where I'm gonna make some of them larger and some of them smaller. Now we've set ourselves up to add our designs inside the flower. So here you can use different shapes, different lines, whatever images you want to add inside the flower to create your unique style. All right, now I have created the different doodles and designs inside each of my flowers. It's time to add the petals. So the petals are going to be just rainbow shapes. You don't have to do anything crazy. You can create your own type of petal, but the simplest way to do it is to just draw a rainbow shape and then continue that shape all the way around. As you can see here, the petals have overlapped my vase. So because they overlap the vase, we want to erase the part of the vase that's now being hidden behind the flower. Because our flower petals are not see-through, we should not be able to see that line. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take my eraser and I'm gonna erase the line inside of the flower petal to show that the flower petal is on top. Now, if you draw lightly, this should be easy to erase. If not, and you can still see the line a little bit, that's okay because you can cover it up later with your marker or paint. So now these three petals are in front of the vase instead of overlapping. All right, now you might be able to see that one of my flowers has overlapped the other flower. So you can see both lines are intersecting and we do not want that. We want to choose one flower to be in front of the other flower. So I'm going to choose that this little flower is in front of the big flower. So any of this flower petal that's inside of these petals needs to go away. So I'm gonna take my eraser and I'm gonna erase the overlap here and I'm gonna erase the overlap here. Now, this demonstrates that these petals are on top of this petal or in front. And the last thing that we're going to do before we start tracing is we're gonna add some foliage, which are the stems and a few leaves. So wherever you can see some empty space, and it might not be for every flower, you're going to add in a stem. So you want to imagine that the stem is connected to the middle of the flower. So I'm going to go down from that part of the middle and I'm going to draw my first line. Now a stem, if you think about a real flower, is not a single line. It is actually a shape. So we need to create a shape for the stem by drawing a second line next to the first line. Now this creates a shape and is a realistic looking stem. So I'm gonna do the same thing. This guy right here, oh, he's overlapping my flower pot. So I need to go ahead and erase the flower pot that's in the petal to show that this flower is in front, but I'm not gonna draw a stem because there's no space for it. I'm gonna get a stem on this tall one right here, but whenever I touch a petal, I'm not gonna draw on top of it because then I don't have to erase the stem that's behind the petals. So that's another way to do it. Instead of having to erase, you can just draw, stop, draw, stop, draw, stop, and so on. This guy right here doesn't look like you would see the stem too much, but there is a little space up here. So I'm going to draw this stem and imagine that it's going behind this flower, continuing down, and it might show up right here, right in this bottom section. So you're going to have to decide which flowers are going to need stems. The last part we're going to do now is we're going to add a few leaves. It is good to fill any negative space or empty space with leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and add a leaf right here. And to draw your leaf, you're just going to draw a curved line up and then a curved line down. And this is going to make an eyeball shape or a football shape. If you want to add some extra design, you can draw a line through the middle of the leaf, and then add some lines to either one side, these are diagonal lines, or both. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to keep adding in some random leaves. Maybe I only see the top part of the leaf right here. I don't see the whole leaf. Now some of these, as you can see, are going to be hidden behind the big flowers, and that's okay. You don't want the leaves to be the focal point. You want them to kind of be in the background. So now I have set up my flower pot and flower designs, but our flower pot is floating on the paper. We always want to make sure that our artwork or our drawing is either standing on the ground or sitting on a table. So I'm going to draw my horizon line now to show that it is in fact sitting on something, and that is going to start on one side. Once I get to my flower pot, I'm going to stop my horizontal line, and then I'm going to pick up my pencil and continue on the other side. Now my flower pot appears to be sitting on a table. Maybe it's sitting outside. It's totally up to you. At this point, if you are using regular paper, you can go ahead and use color pencils, crayons, markers to add color to your designs. If you are painting with me, stay tuned, and I'm going to do a second part to this lesson and show you how to add color using watercolor paint or using water-based markers and water.